with these severe predation pressures.
Let's be honest, some people just get up your nose. They make you irritated, they obtuse, they obstructive, they push their own agendas, they just don't want to play ball.
I think there's also client pressure. I think the demand from clients is such that they want greater service.
There's a better way to react to this situation.
I'm moving back to this mussel bed. We all know what these guys taste like, and they are the main prey item of starfish. In fact, if it wasn't for starfish, there'd be a lot more mussels covering these rocks than there are right now. And if I was to try and pull this mussel off the rock, I'd succeed, but I'd struggle because it's anchored to the rock quite firmly with a set of hair-like threads called byssus threads. But where it really comes short is actually pulling that thing apart. It would be completely impossible for me to open the shell with my bare hands. And the reason why is because it's fastened very strongly together over its hinge with a mussel. So the starfish has to be able to innovate to overcome those two problems, and it has two innovations that enable it to do that. The first one is patience. It fastens itself to that mussel and very, very slowly it pulls it apart. And while this mussel is capable of resisting tremendous force over a short period of time, eventually the starfish fatigues it and manages to pull its shell open just a crack. And that's when things get nasty, because the starfish slips a tube inside and injects the poor mussel with a mussel relaxant, and the thing just turns to jelly, opens up. The starfish extrudes its stomach right into the mussel, digests it there, and sucks it back inside. And if that sounds gruesome, feeding time at the bank is no less fraught with peril. Food that's available in a bank is typically high in fat, high glycemic index, and that means that bankers are often low on energy, overweight, and undernourished. And we're going to be talking to the Bankmed Health chefs, Celine and Christine, about how bankers can survive in this adverse nutritional environment.
One of the definite hazards we find is that perhaps you're also eating your way up the corporate ladder, which is not such a good thing if you consider what's available to eat at the workplace. I think for starters, every corner seems to have a coffee machine, and every corner seems to have a vending machine.
And if you look at the meetings you go to, and a lot of you go to these meetings at least once a day, what is provided? It's pastries, all fast release foods that shoot your sugar levels up, and then halfway through the meeting, you're supposed to be making this very crucial decision, and your sugar levels have dropped that you're ready to pass out. I mean, we're meeting people that are falling asleep in their meetings. So it's not a good thing, and I think that's a big hazard. We've had great success in a lot of companies that we've worked with, where we go in and we actually change what people have in their meetings. We give them slow release snacks, and they're still delicious, still meatballs, but we put things like biltong,
And the right dips.
the right drinks
And
as
drinks,
well,
lots of
not
water.
Coke, but water, flavored water, fruit juices, and there really has been a positive difference in those meetings.
Another hazard, of course, is peer pressure or colleague pressure.
So we've got the canteens, the vending machines, the meetings, the peer pressure, and another hazard, traffic. You know, you're waking up at the crack of dawn, sorting out the family, facing the traffic. Where is there time for breakfast? So you get to the office and then the first meeting starts and you haven't eaten. And research shows that not eating breakfast isn't going to affect you straight away. It's going to affect you later in the day. And that's when the cravings are going to hit in, the dips are going to hit in, and once again, nodding off. So we've got all these hazards. There's got to be a solution, and there definitely is. The health chefs can help you. First solution, let's start off with starting your day on the right note. You don't have time for breakfast. If you've got 60 seconds, somebody once said, you've got time. Something you can do is try a smoothie. It takes about 60 seconds to make a smoothie. Throw in some fruit, some yogurt, oats, and some good quality nuts or seeds. Blend it up and put it in a bottle and drink it in the car.
And another way to make sure that you keep your energy levels going, that you're in tip-top shape, you don't have to just accept your environment the way that it is. Why don't you speak to people? Ask, can we not have other options in the vending machines? Can't we maybe have snacker bars and some nuts and fruits and things? We don't only have to have the chocolates.
There's not a lot a rocky shore invertebrate can do to change its environment, but you definitely can.
And if you're going to meetings, perhaps if you request the canteen to make special health platters, fruit kebabs and healthy sandwiches on rye, you could actually just start that change. And that's why we say, use your resources available, use the health chefs, get us to give you ideas, and then follow through and try and ask the powers that be if they can possibly help you out.
So even a health bar and a piece of fruit, it's a good enough lunch to lift your energy levels up and keep you going for the rest of the day.
And if you really think about it, rocky shore invertebrates, they adapt to the environment instinctively. They don't have to think about it. But you do. We have to make a conscious decision to innovate and to fight back against the hazards of our nutritional environment.
And there are many ways and opportunities that we can work with bankers to help them, in actual fact, use food to make them more energetic, to enable them to handle more stress, and enable them to be far more productive in the workplace.
So what we're seeing is that in this environment, innovation is a key to survival. And in a bank, it's exactly the same. If you want to survive, if you want to do well, you have to innovate. Now, when we spoke about innovation last year, we discussed 3 steps to innovation. First of all, creativity. Secondly, implementation. And thirdly, evaluation. And following these steps is going to mean that you can adapt yourself to your environment just as well as these animals adapted to this environment. You might ask yourself, how did these animals get so smart? Most of them don't even have brains. Well, the innovation that they go through is evolutionary innovation, and it operates according to exactly the same 3 steps as human behavioral innovation. If you take a limpet, for example, my friends just down there in that little depression, an average limpet produces 6 million offspring in a single lifetime. Now, I've only produced 2 offspring myself, but I'm fascinated by how different they are, how much genetic variation there is in a sample size of 2. Imagine how many differences in shell shape, size, texture, foot strength, foot stiffness a limpet can generate in those 6 million offspring. Add to that countless generations, throw in the odd genetic mutation, and you're talking about an enormous amount of creativity to generating possible solutions to surviving on the rocky shore. Human beings have to be able to constantly create new behavioral solutions to enable them to survive in an environment like a bank. And we're going to move into a bank and find out about some of those creative ideas.
I think there's great opportunities for people in the banks.
People are really the key. It's no longer bricks and mortar, it's people.
Your system as a whole is capable of absorbing more.
Communication is key.
Some of the opportunities that stand out is with one's colleagues.
Well-trained staff creates opportunities for themselves.
And that is your choice in life.
There are various ways in which you can reduce stress.
And I think it's more a challenge to the individual rather than the employer.
But the key issue is, how does one prepare himself or herself for those challenges?
It means you've got to plan well, you've got to think ahead, you've got to be conscious in the decisions that you make.
That the way you interact with your colleagues is part of the bigger system.
The sector itself is very wide and very deep.
Every employee has got the opportunity to attend training.
And we're exploring some of those innovations at the moment on seeing how we can actually help those members going forward, on how we can help them do those changes.
You won't miss a Stratcom and a Exco meeting. Make sure you don't miss your meeting with yourself to invest in your health.
On our employee portal there's also information available.
If I eat frequently and properly in order to fuel myself, then I never have a sort of an energy low or in fact struggle with focus.
Something that I do is to have a timeout.
Let the stress enable you.
People just need to phone us to get the information on that.
In my case, I need stress to be energized.
Because that's actually why we're here. We love the stress and the energy.
Keep your eyes open, keep your ears open, keep connected, keep engaged. In that way you can innovate.
One of the obvious differences between the evolutionary innovation demonstrated by these rocky shore invertebrates and the human behavioral innovation demonstrated by bankers is the time scale. Climatic changes happen over thousands of years in this environment, whereas in a bank, changes are swift, they're dramatic, they're sudden, and creativity needs to keep a pace with that if we're going to be able to innovate effectively. The second step in innovation is implementation, to actually implement the plan that has been created. And implementation for all these invertebrates that I'm surrounded by happens through their DNA. Their DNA is a master plan that determines their body structure and their behavior as well. It's what's going to make them carry out the innovative plan that over time has been creative. And it's so important as human beings, if we're to be effective as innovators, that we implement the plan that we have innovated, that we have created in a structured and disciplined way. And the third step of innovation is evaluation. Evaluation in this environment is constant and harsh. Just imagine if there was a limpet living up here on this rock that had the wrong shell shape or the wrong foot texture, for example, wouldn't survive long. The evaluation of that idea is that it was not a good idea, the animal would die, it wouldn't succeed. And it's so important as human beings when we innovate behaviorally that we constantly evaluate our ideas as well. We have to be able to look at our ideas and see, is that a successful idea or not? Now, there are two important things about evaluation. The first one is that you don't mix up evaluation with creativity. Because if you do, if you're evaluating your ideas before you've even created them properly or before you've implemented them, that evaluation is going to stifle your natural creativity. Important to keep the two steps separate. The other important thing about evaluation is that if you do evaluate an innovative idea and find out that it's not successful, don't abandon innovation. Don't get out of the tidal pool. Just move back to creativity and generate new ideas. As I walk along the shore, I'm surrounded by wonderful and plentiful examples of the way in which innovation has enabled these animals to achieve. And if you look around yourself in the banking environment, you're going to see no less wonderful examples of human behavioral innovation, enabling everybody in that environment to survive and thrive in a place that is complex socially and intellectually as well. Like I said, there are two main differences between human behavioral innovation and evolutionary innovation. The one is the timescale, the other one, critically important, intent. These animals innovate through no intent, no active will. As a human being, if you're going to survive, if you're going to do well in your challenging environment, it's important that you innovate with intent, with discipline and purpose. And that's what's going to make the difference between those people who struggle and those people who achieve healthy bodies and successful careers.